We have Southern Indiana head coach Chris Ramirez, second year as the head coach for the Screaming Eagles. Coach, 2026 season getting ready to begin. Just give us some general thoughts on your squad.
Yeah, we are obviously in year two now, excited about getting going, and the guys been working hard. I think we got a good mix as compared to last season where we were completely brand new of 20 returners from last year's team. Yeah, and they get joined with 20 new guys that we were able to have an entire recruiting cycle to recruit. So we're extremely excited about that, and it just feels really good to be in year two.
Tell us a little more about that then. With when you take over a program, you expect probably you're going to have a whole new roster. And then in this era of the portal, you never know. How did that kind of come about by having that many returning players? You have a couple of all conference people back that obviously to bolster that, just that good mix of experience and newcomers.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that we're feeling this year is the returners. You know, just the luxury of having 20 guys that have been in your program, been with us, been coached by us, know what we expect, know our terminology, and just kind of how we go about our day-to-day stuff is huge and probably can't be valued enough, especially when you hear about transfers and things like that. So those are the guys that I think make us feel so good entering season two now. Guys like Parker Martin was all conference. Um, Kai Holiday, Clayton Slack. Those guys played every day for us. Micajah Wall, Charlie Mariska, Hunter Miller. Those are everyday type players for us. And McClellan, Patrick, just some guys that have been here and have produced at this level. So just entering the season with guys like that offensively, that we at least kind of have an idea of how they're going to produce, and I think that makes us feel really good. And then even on the mound, Figueroa, Porter, Gonzo, Watt, Stout, those are all guys that pitched big innings for us last year, and to have guys like that return, makes the world a difference, and not just production wise, but when you bring in new players, those new guys get acclimated just that much quicker when you have returners that they can go to and kind of just step right in and get in the flow of practice and how things are run here at USI.
If last year on opening day you felt a certain way about preparation, how much farther do you think you're ahead this year by having one season and having those returning players?
Yeah, those returning players, make us feel light years ahead of last year. And, I think it was, when I think about it, we felt good. We got as ready as we possibly could for opening day last season with the players that we had on campus, but we didn't really know how it was going to truly translate onto the field and production and success. And, those returning players, I think, really stabilize our program entering the season. Now that doesn't mean you're going to win more or win less. It just means, entering game one, you feel a lot more stabilized going into the season.
Let's say 3 weeks from now, you've played a couple series. If you're seeing X and Y happening for your team, that's a good sign. What are the couple of things you want to see, a month into the season?
So the big thing for us is just playing clean baseball, and that's very elementary. But I think if you're watching, if you flip us on ESPN and you're watching one of our games and it just looks like a regular baseball game where we pound the zone and compete on the mound, make the routine plays, have tough at bats, play clean baseball. That's the big thing, and the sooner hopefully we can show that opening day, but definitely by a couple weeks into the season. We want to look like a clean college baseball team. And, I think once you get to that point, then you can start to take off and, some of the exciting, players and playmakers and, talented guys can start doing, those, hitting home runs and striking guys out, making the big time play on defense. That stuff starts to matter, once you play clean baseball.
Well, you're going to kind of get to practice and do some of those things in your early season games. So you get to go to California to start. Talk about, opening up at Cal State Bakersfield and just some of the non-conference games to get your team ready for conference action.
Yeah, I like our schedule, and it's especially with a little snow on the ground right now. It feels nice to know that we're gonna get on an airplane and fly out to California for opening weekend and play Cal State Bakersfield. Coach Banfield's the head coach out there. He was my assistant coach my first 2 years as a head coach at Illinois Springfield. So it's gonna be good to get out there and kind of a neat thing and a little proud moment from a coaching standpoint when you see some of my guys that venture off and get into the coaching profession. So it'll be good, and I know he's going to have a well-coached team, and they're going to be prepared. But then after that, weekend two, we're at home. Weekend three, we're on the road. Weekend four, we're back home, and five, we're at Southern Illinois. So. I think it's a good mix of non-conference. Some of the, I guess, highlight games. We're at Purdue this year, at Missouri, Middle Tennessee. So we got some nice midweek contests that I think are just going to get us ready for what I think is going to be a really, challenging, and it feels like the OVC is going to be up this year, in my opinion. And so I know it was a good league last season, so I think it's going to be a good schedule.
Last year you had sort of had to learn the other OVC coaches' styles and playing him. Now you've had that year to know what the other teams have. You just referenced it there, but like, what did you learn about the league as you enter another year facing that competition?
Yeah, last year was kind of a clean slate for me. Obviously, I was familiar with the programs in the league and some of the individual coaches in the league, but first time through, for me and for us here, as a new coaching staff and a new players. So, I think from my first impression is everybody's good. I don't think there's bad teams in the OVC. And I think everybody can beat you. So, I think it's turning into a really strong baseball league and, with no weak links. And so every weekend you got to show up, every game you got to show up and play. And, I think that's what it should, that's how it should be. And so this will be year two. So we get to go see the teams that we played at home. We play on the road this year. So, that'll be, it's always fun to get on the road to go to new places and play.
And your team did make the tournament, OVC tournament last year. You just had the one game, but how did that maybe help build, taste a little bit of that postseason to what hopefully go further this year?
Postseason baseball is always the highlight of every season, and our expectations and our standards are that we're going to be in the postseason and in the OVC tournament every year. And so it was good year one, to reach that goal and get out there and good for our players again with 20 guys returning to get a taste of that. And we're excited to get through the season and hopefully the regular season puts you allows you to position yourself with seeding, for that OVC tournament. So, that's it's always a challenging, good tournament, and anybody can win it.
And how much difference is it? What you talked about, maybe there's no bad teams. One or two games could mean a difference between being seated eighth and maybe third in the league. Did you see that last year?
Yeah, every game matters. From who's going to win the league to who's going to get eighth, and every spot in between. It's a tight race, and so every game matters, and that's what's fun. You want to you never want to be at a place or in a league where there's meaningless games, and we're definitely not. Every game that we play matters on our schedule, and I think it's important to use the regular season to learn to win and compete to win so that when you get to that postseason you're ready to go.
Well, Coach, appreciate your time this morning. Just best of luck to you and the Eagles all season long.
Appreciate it.